Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video, and today we'll be checking out the DYS ELF. And now this is a little 83mm micro quad, and now this has brushless motors. They are the DYS BE 1102 10,000 kV. You can't really see that there, but they are 10,000 kV. And this is the ready to fly version that comes with the quad all set up with a battery ready to go, little manual, charger, and a little transmitter. The transmitter actually does run the FreeSky protocol, and it takes, what is this, four AA batteries in the back there, and you have 4 switches, 2 3-position and 2 2-position switches, as well as your trims with a little screen display there. So it's not that bad of a transmitter. We'll see how it feels after flying it a little bit. The battery it comes with is a little 600 milliamp hour 2S battery right there. Just got a little simple wall charger to a balance lead on here that can do 2 and 3S. And then we have our manual, which as always with Chinese translations isn't the greatest, but if you study it, you should be able to get a little bit of information out of it. So since this guy is running the FreeSky protocol, you actually can bind this to a Taranis transmitter. I'm not sure. There's one button up here, and there's a button right here next to this plug. One of them's for changing the video transmitter settings, and one of them's bind button for the FreeSky transmitter. So you can fly it with a nicer transmitter if you want. This guy does have quite a bit of LEDs. You can see on these clear motor landing pads here. Plug this in, you can see, there you go, there's green in the front and they go solid when it's, obviously everything's powered up and level, and then you have red in the back, and they actually show up very well, so if you want to do some night flights with it, that would be possible. You have a couple of status LEDs from the flight controller, etc. inside there. It does have an F3 flight controller. Everything's all built in and ready to go under this frame and canopy here, which can be removed with, what's that, 4 screws there. The frame, it looks like, is 1mm carbon, and then you have these plastic guards up top with this canopy to protect everything. So that was just a real quick overview of everything there, so let's go fly it around and then I'll finish up my thoughts on it. Alright, so let's do a line of sight. Quick flight for this little guy. Make sure you turn your remote on first. Give it a few seconds to power up, or else it won't connect to the quad. So plug it in here. Just sort of tuck the balance lead away. Alright, let's arm it here. I got this switch down in acro mode, so it idles the motors because it has air mode here. Let's just take off. Come out here. Sorry for the lighting. It's not very bright out. But if I put it back into self-level mode, there we go. So if you can see, it levels back by itself when you let go of the stick there. I find that it works pretty well. It does have a bit of drift in it. The gimbals aren't the greatest. And after a little bit of flying at an angle like this, it will sort of be a little bit off. You can see it's drifting backwards, but there is wind that direction a little bit. But you know, it's not terrible, but after a while, especially if you fly at like full pitch like that in angle mode, the accelerometer can get a little confused, but it looks like right now it's actually doing perfect and holding steady. Let's do a full throttle punch out here. So there's that. Whoa! Alright, so let's bring it up again. That definitely is one bad thing, and especially after a crash, that's why I had to restart the video here like that. If you go back into self-level mode, the accelerometer, it was way off and it just shot straight backwards. So you need to be real careful if you're crashing and you're using self-level mode, that you might have to unplug and replug to get it back to level. Let's see. Yeah, see, now I plugged back in while it was level and it's hovering fine in angle mode. And then the middle position on the switch should be horizon, so you can see it's still self-levels, but we are able to do a flip here. You can see if we go all the way over, and then the bottom position on the switch obviously is fully acro. It doesn't level at all. It's fully manual there. And it does fly alright. It doesn't have the most power, so you need to be careful into some turns like that. You might wobble out of your own prop wash and end up crashing. And I found that if you're not using the acro mode, the other ones don't idle the motors at 0 throttle. So if you go up and you cut the throttle, all the motors will stop, and a lot of times it won't be able to restart and it'll just destabilize and crash. So you need to make sure you don't chop your throttle unless you have them set to idle. But you can change that in beta flight, obviously. That'd be pretty easy, but stock setup, that's how it is. So this is full throttle here. Oh, yep. Alright, so like I said, that there was just towards doing a hard turn with a lot of throttle there, and it just kind of went crazy and flipped out of the air. That might be due to my bad motor. I have a bad motor back here. It's really stiff. But, let's get this guy going. So there we go. I'll go back into angle mode for the full speed passes here, because it just seems to make it a little easier. I just have to take the turns easy. So there's full speed. There you go. I don't know, maybe 35 miles an hour on this guy. Definitely not the fastest, but it's got a... Yeah. So there it crashed again, but I did notice that time definitely for sure that when it did fall out of the air going hard throttle on that turn, it was the back left motor here that dropped. It dropped this way, and that's the bad motor I have. So I'm pretty sure all these issues I'm having with it just dropping out like that is from this really stiff motor back here. So let's go do some FPV with it, and then I'll finish up the review. Alright, so as you can see, we do have a little OSD here with the fly minutes down there, 13 seconds. That happens when you arm, that starts. And we have our battery voltage on the left there. And this is not a Betaflight OSD, but having the voltage is nice. And you can see I'm just toggling the that little switch on the right using it turns on and off the artificial horizon there, but that's pretty much worthless, so I just turn that off. But it is nice that you can turn it off with the stock settings. Just kind of cruising around here, you can see I have some gates set up from a 5-inch quad that I was running, and it's managing around. Once again, the stock transmitter just was really hard to fly around. The gimbals are so inaccurate that any movement you do becomes really twitchy, so I had to be really careful, and especially with my bad motor, I didn't want it dropping out of the air because it was soaking wet. It had just poured, so I'm just kind of flying around real calmly here. You can see it can pick up a decent amount of speed. And obviously there are a lot of shakes and prop washing the tune. It's only what, 1.7-inch micro quad. It's nothing, you're not really going to get much better, but my frame is actually a little bit cracked, as well as the blades. The props, I should replace them. They're a little bit off balance now, but it does alright. See, the stock rates that come on it are plenty quick enough to do a couple little flips and rolls there. Just flying around here. It's able, since it's so small, to go through some pretty small gaps. See, the prop guards worked well enough to keep it off that branch and keep it up in the air. There I kind of lost control, moved the sticks a little bit too much, and you can see just how aggressively it reacted. Might be able to help a little bit of that with some expo, changing the rates a little bit, but the stock transmitter is definitely the root of the issue there. You can see the low voltage flashed on the screen when our battery got low, as well as there is an onboard buzzer that will start beeping to let you know it's time to land. And I've been getting anywhere from about 3 to 5 minutes total of flight time, depending on how hard you push the battery. Alright, so let's start off with one of probably the glaring issues you noticed in my flight videos here. This back motor here, I don't know what is wrong with it, but it is super tight. Like I spin the other ones by hand, these are really free and really easy. This one's super tight, and if I leave it sit for like 5 minutes, it gets really tight, but the more I spin it, the looser it gets, which doesn't make any sense. Thought it might have something to do with the magnets, but if I look at it real close, the gap between the bell and the bottom housing is super close, way closer than the other one, so I tried to pull it apart, but I couldn't, it didn't move at all. But if I do start spinning it by hand, I can get the prop to eventually run, but there's definitely an issue with this motor here. As for durability, the durability on this frame kind of sucks. I mean, I've broken, in just small grass crashes, I've snapped the guards. You can see this piece here snapped right off, and it is definitely a known issue. Also, this battery base snapped. I had to tape it back together. There is a separate carbon frame available for this that I have coming soon that's available also from Underground FPV, so that should definitely help this guy a lot in terms of durability. I found the battery life to be alright. The charge times are about half an hour on this guy, but it's just a super general balance charger. You know, it does 2 to 3S, 1.8 amps. I wish it was a little bit lower because that's actually 3C on this 600 milliamp hour battery, so that might be a little bit much for it since it's such a small battery. But I really wish they used a different connector, because this one is really not that common at all. I wish they would have used either an XT30 or a JST. JST, it doesn't have enough power to need an XT30, but that's a lot more common because it'd be hard pressed to find general batteries available for this. You definitely can't get spares though. And the way the battery just mounts in here, just slides right in, I absolutely hate this. It is so loose in here, even when it wasn't broken. It always just pops out, and it's a terrible way to mount the battery. And the upgrade frame has slots for an actual battery strap, so that'd be a lot nicer. For the radio, I mean, it worked alright. It's definitely comparable to, say, other toy transmitters. The sticks feel pretty decent, and they're nice and loose. But the stick resolution actually transmitting into movement on the quad was very poor, maybe very jerky. Like, you just give it a little bit of input. It's almost like an area like this of deadband in the stick, and as soon as you go out of it, then it'd like twitch real hard. So definitely, if you do have a Taranis transmitter, it would highly advise binding to this little guy, but I didn't have time while I was testing this. The switches, it's nice that you have this many switches available. This one's to arm, this one is angle, horizon, acro. This one's OSD on, OSD off, OSD on. I don't know why they did that. And then this one is your temporary switch, well, just a switch to activate the buzzer on the quad. And when the battery does get low, it starts beeping, and if you get lost in grass, you can switch that and it'll start beeping to help you find it. But of course, once again, since this is an F3 flight controller, and you've got your USB right out the back here, you can configure everything and set it up as you wish in Betaflight. In terms of power and control and feel in the air, it wasn't too bad actually. I mean, it's definitely a lot better than other brushed micros in a similar size class flying around there, and a lot of times when I had it, I was just going around hard turns where I needed a lot of throttle. It would just drop out of the air, but I'm 90%, 95% sure that's an issue with this bad motor here, so I need to get a new motor before I do some more testing. But it did feel pretty good in the air. I mean, the PIDs obviously aren't the best. If you come out of a flip, you could see it jitter a little bit, but I didn't mess with those at all. But you could tune it once again since it's beta flight. But I generally find I don't like to mess with the micros that much because there's only so much you can do with the PIDs to help them out. The camera was okay. It was very wide angle as in general with these guys, so there's a lot of distortion, so when moving forward and backwards it's kind of hard to judge distance. And just once again, one of the biggest things hindering the flight performance of this guy, I think, was me using the stock ready-to-fly transmitter. It's just so little precision. Like, I had to be super careful when I was flying FPV, so I didn't just all of a sudden go crazy there. So I definitely wouldn't really recommend this to a beginner, seeing as the durability is definitely not great, and you'd probably be looking at the ready-to-fly version, and the transmitter just is not that good. But surprisingly, the range on this was actually pretty decent using the FreeSky protocol. I was able to fly around my yard just fine, a lot farther than other little quads, and you know, I didn't have any problems. I never pushed the range, but it worked plenty fine for me, and the video signal also was plenty clean. You can see the antenna, the little whip is just tucked away underneath in there. So definitely overall, I do like it, but it just falls short on a couple things that just doesn't make me just really love it overall, and I think there might be better options to check out other than this one. So there'll be a link down below to Underground FPV if you do wish to check this guy out. It's available in just the quad bind and fly if you have a Taranis already, but I chose the rated fly just to check the transmitter out if you don't have one, and it's only an extra, I think like $18, and it does fit in the hands well. So as in the video, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.